Hello everyone. I am Pavan Kumar, working in Bangalore Institute of Technology, Department of Electrical Engineering. Today I am here to present a session on single phase AC circuits. This is the unit 3 of your syllabus. See, in this unit, that is module 3, we do about generation of sinusoidal voltages, frequency of generated voltage, definitions, and numerical values such as average value, root mean square value, form factor, and peak factor of sinusoidally varying quantities. And we also go for the phasor representation of alternating quantities and analysis of phasor diagrams of R, L, C, RL, RC, and RLC circuits, series, parallel, and series parallel circuits. We also evaluate the real power, reactive power, apparent power, and power factor. At the end of this unit, we have some examples. Okay, preferably I will be solving the problems from the old question papers and some good textbooks. We see here in this session, firstly we do about sinusoidal voltage is generated, how the sinusoidal voltage is generated, okay, and then we try to describe certain parameters like average value, effective value, form factor, and peak factor related to only sinusoidal voltages or current waveforms. Okay. After doing this, we will do some examples to find out the average and root mean square values of some periodic waveforms. Okay. And here also I will be doing only sinusoidal waveforms because we will be doing only sinusoidal voltages. Okay, we will deal about only sinusoidal voltages. The other waveforms are also there, but in our syllabus we have only the sinusoidal voltage waveforms. Okay, so we will do particularly about sinusoidal voltages. After going through this session, you will be able to answer the following questions: what is a AC voltage waveform? How a sinusoidal voltage is generated? And for a sinusoidal periodic voltage or current waveforms, how to compute the time period, average value, RMS value, peak factor, and form factor. Now, what is an alternating quantity? You can have any quantity which acts in alternate directions and whose magnitude undergoes a definite cycle of changes in definite interval of times is called as an alternating quantity. If during these alternations or variations, if the quantity follows a sine curve, I call it as a sinusoidal alternating quantity. Okay. The advantage of sinusoidal alternating quantities is if you differentiate or integrate a sinusoidal waveform, the resultant is also a sinusoid. That is the advantage. This advantage is not there for any other kind of alternating signals. Now, this is a simple graphical representation of a sinusoidal alternating quantities. Okay, the reference axis is the time. Now, you can see here the magnitude is not constant with time. It keep on increasing, reaches a maximum value, then decreases to 0, and further changes the direction and becomes negative. Okay. See, the generation of sinusoidal voltage we do like this. We take a multi-turn coil. We place this coil in the magnetic field produced by either permanent magnets or by electromagnet. The flux lines for this magnetic field produced by the either electromagnetic poles or permanent magnetic poles will be from north pole to south pole. And the coil what we are placing in the magnetic field will be rotated at an angular speed of omega is equal to 2 pi n radians per second. N we also call it as speed of the coil in revolutions per second, or we can also calculate the speed in revolutions per minute. For that, the N should be multiplied by 60. Okay, so then I will be getting the speed in revolutions per minute. L is the length of the coil, B is the width of the coil, T is the number of the coils in the coil what you are placing. Now, if you see this diagram, I have just shown a coil with the length of the conductor being L, width being B, T is the number of coils, turns in the coil, and B is the flux density in the coil. Now, the coil, it is rotating at an angular velocity of omega. This velocity can be resolved into two components. One is a component M which is perpendicular to the direction of the magnetic field, and the other one N, it is in the direction of the magnetic field. So the perpendicular direction of the speed or velocity what you have, it is responsible for production of the voltage in the coil. At a certain instant, the coil is at an angle of theta is equal to omega t with the horizontal. This is about with the reference to the previous diagram what I have shown. Okay. The EMF induced on the one side of the coil, it is given by BLV sin theta. Theta can also be termed as an angular displacement, because at a velocity of omega within a time of t, the conductor is rotated by an angle omega into t. Therefore, theta is equal to omega into t. The EMF induced in the coil, because the coil consists of two conductors, I will be multiplying that equation BLV sin theta by 2, and the V, the velocity, I am replacing in terms of the speed in revolutions per second and the width of the coil multiplied by pi, that is 2 bi pi bn sin theta. This pi bn sin theta, pi bn what you have, it gives us the velocity of the coil, okay, with which it is moving. This velocity we call it as a tangential velocity. Okay. The total EMF induced or generated in the multi-turn coil is 2 times the voltage induced in each conductor. So that is 2t multiplied by BL pi Bn sin theta, because 2 conductors will form one turn. Okay. And this I can call it as Em sin theta, and if I replace theta by omega t, I will be getting Em sin omega t. By this expression you can see that the voltage induced, it is following a sine curve. You see the sin omega t, sine says the induced voltage will be following a sine curve with a maximum value of Em, okay, with respect to the time t. If you try to sketch this waveform, you will be getting a sine curve. Now the induced voltage, what I am expressing, E of t is equal to Em sin omega t. It tells that induced EMF is varying as per the sine curve with respect to time, okay, and in this the coil what you have, it can be a multi-turn coil or a single turn coil with the length of the conductor as L, width as B, it will have an area A is equal to BL meter square. The flux cut by the coil, it will be B multiplied by the area of the coil, okay, it will be measured in Webers, and it is given by phi is equal to BBL. B is a capital B, which is the flux density in Webers per meter square. B into L will give us the area of the coil. Flux linkages, see all this flux what you have, B into BBL, it is linking with all the turns of the coil. Therefore, I call flux linkages psi is equal to BBL into T. This will be given in Webers. The value of the flux and the flux linkage psi are maximum with the coil being at horizontal position, that is theta is equal to 0. This position we consider as the initial position of the conductor. These values, as these values changes, as the coil moves from the horizontal position, okay, theta changes from as the coil moves from the horizontal position. The change in the position will give us the value of the induced EMF a different one. Therefore, we say the value of the induced EMF depends on the position of the coil with respect to the horizontal position. The maximum value of the induced EMF being Em is equals to 2Bn, okay, 2Bn B L B T, okay. So this is what one of the method of rotating a coil. So here I just shown a hand, what you call this as a lever. So I can just rotate about the coil in the magnetic field, holding here and turning it, okay. But practically there will be a mechanical device which is connected to this coil or a group of coils placed on an armature, and that mechanical energy given by the prime mover, what we call, will be rotating the coil in the magnetic field. Therefore, a voltage will be induced. That voltage induced can be connected at the terminals of the slip ring on which the two brushes are placed. As the coil rotates, the slip rings also rotates. Therefore, the polarity of the voltage induced, what is available at the terminals, will be alternating. In AC voltage we get this. See, this shows here, this figure shows different positions of the coil within the magnetic field. Now if I take the vertical position with the coil in the vertical position in the magnetic field, I have the maximum amount of area of the coil offered to the flux. Okay. So therefore I have here effective area is maximum. When the coil is rotated by 30 degrees, so the effective area given or offered by the coil to the magnetic field is decreasing, therefore okay, it is decreased. See, when the coil is rotated by 90 degrees, I have further reduction in the area. So you can say almost the flux lines will be parallel to the surface, therefore you will not be getting any area offered, that is without passing to the area of the coil, the flux linkages will be there from north pole to the south pole. And again further rotation of 135 degrees, you have certain area offered. Okay. See, every step I am increasing by 30 degrees here, first one is 0, then 30, 60 degrees again the area still decreases, 90 the plane of the coil will be in the direction of the magnetic field, or the flux lines will be parallel to the surface of the coil. Okay. And then when you move further rotation of 45 degrees, you can see the area is increased. So this causes the flux linkages in the coil to increase. Okay. When it is rotated by 180 degrees, the conductor what we have at the top in the beginning will now come to the bottom, and the bottom conductor will go to the top. So that again gives us maximum amount of area offered by the coil to the flux lines. Now this waveform will also shows us different positions of the conductor or the coil. Okay. See here, vertical axis I have taken the angular position here. 0 is the initial one. By the time there is a 45 degree movement of the coil, okay, I am getting the flux linkages decreasing. When the coil moves by 90 degrees, as the plane of the coil will be within the magnetic field such that the flux lines are parallel to the surface of the coil, I have no flux linking the coil, therefore the flux linkages from maximum it becomes minimum, that is 0 by the time the coil moves by 90 degrees. So during this movement, as there are maximum amount of change in the flux linkages, I get a larger amount of voltage induced when the coil is rotated by 90 degrees. So from the initial position, by the time the coil rotates by 90, as there is a reduction in the flux linkages, I have change in the flux linkages there. Okay. So as the flux linkages from maximum becoming say reduces to 0, the induced EMF is gradually increasing. Okay, gradually increasing. When the flux linkages are becoming 0, I will get a larger voltage induced because the change in the flux linkages is maximum. So as per the Faraday's law, the induced EMF depends upon the change in the flux linkages. Because the change in the flux linkages is maximum at this position, I am getting a maximum amount of induced voltage in the coil. Further movement takes or say changes the area offered by the coil, again the flux linkages starts increasing in the opposite direction. Okay. Therefore the EMF cause decreasing, right, gradually is decreases here, right. Now after 180 degrees, as I told you, the conductor positions in the magnetic field will reverses. Okay. Therefore the induced EMF will be in the reverse direction, so I will be getting a negative half cycle here. Okay. This one full waveform what you have, this is for one complete rotation. Okay. For one complete rotation of the coil from 0 through 90 to 180 to 270 and again 360 degrees. So at this 360 degrees, the conductor will come back or the coil will come back to the original position. Okay. So this diagram also will give you the different positions of the coil within the magnetic field. You can see here, this is the vertical position, I took it as a reference 0 degrees, from here I rotated by 90. So the coil plane you can see here, this is vertical and here it is horizontal. Okay.
horizontal. If you see this coil, the flux lines are entering, okay, in through the coil. Here the flux lines are passing parallel to the surface of the coil, okay, and when I rotate by 180 degrees, again the flux lines are becoming perpendicular to the surface of the coil. By 270, the lines are again parallel to the surface of the coil, and when 360 degrees, again I am getting the same position of the first one, okay. So throughout this movement of the coil or rotation of the coil, I will be getting a voltage which gradually increases from 0 to the maximum value, becomes 0 again, and then increases in the reverse direction, and finally becomes 0 by the time the coil rotates by 360 degrees. So here I have another alternator, okay. Here operation is same for this alternator also, only difference is previously what all the diagram I have shown, I just said that the flux magnetic field is produced by permanent magnets. Now here I am just giving you a direction here, a coil wound on a magnetic core. I can pass a current, a DC current through this field windings, what I have shown on the poles, okay. These are made up of copper, either thin wire normally I use a thin wire in the construction of these coils. This coil will carry a current. Depending on the direction of the current in the coil, I will get a north pole, and when I reverse the current direction here, I will have a south pole. These two coils what we will connect them in series so that they carry the same current, but the winding on the south pole will carry a current in reverse direction compared to the coil on the north pole. Because of the reverse directions of the currents, that is opposite directions of the currents, this becomes a north pole, this becomes a south pole. Just by reversing the direction of the current to the coils, I can change the polarity of the poles also. But here I do not want to change the polarities of the magnetic field, therefore I will be using the same current direction in both these, okay. This will carry current in one direction, and the winding on the south pole will carry current in the opposite direction. These current directions are fixed, and I can also increase the strength of the magnetic field by increasing the current in the field windings, okay. As you keep the coil rotated in a fixed direction, okay, at a constant angular velocity, I can get a larger amount of induced EMF by increasing the density of the magnetic field also. For increasing the flux density, I need to increase the current passing through the field windings, so therefore the poles will give you more amount of flux, so that increases the density. So increasing the density will definitely increases the voltage induced in the conductors, thereby the voltage induced in the coil, and when you have a multi-turn coil, all the voltages induced in the different coils will get added up, will give us a larger voltage. So this is another picture, okay, and a detailed picture here. You can see here two conductors, a red one and a blue one. The red one is connected to one end ring, what we called as a slip ring, and the blue one is connected to another ring, it is called as another slip ring, okay. Now here, as the coil rotates in the counterclockwise direction, the axis of rotation is also mentioned here. Axis of rotation is the straight line, what is passing through the center of the coil, this is the axis of straight line, and the direction of rotation is counterclockwise. Always we consider the counterclockwise direction as a positive one, therefore we consider this as a counterclockwise direction as positive, and we run the coil or rotate the coil in that direction. As the coil rotates in the counterclockwise direction, you can see the north pole, the conductor what you have under north pole will be moving in the downward direction, and the blue conductor which is on the south pole will go up, okay. So after 180 degree rotation, what happens, this red conductor will occupy the position of the blue one, and blue one will occupy the position of the red one. Further rotation, the conductor, blue conductor will be moving under north pole, and the red conductor will be moving under the south pole. So therefore that during that time the direction of the induced EMF in the conductors will get reversed. That is why we get the negative half cycle on the in the coil, okay. So you can see here, this is another diagram which where I have just shown the coil at a position of theta with respect to the horizontal axis, okay, at the, like this. When this theta is equal to 0, my first conductor will be here and the second conductor will be here. So if you apply right hand rule, Fleming's right hand rule, to get the direction of the induced EMF in the coil or the conductor. Okay, as per the rule, I have the conductor which is moving under the north pole having EMF into the conductor, and the conductor which is moving under the south pole will having EMF outward. So the outward direction is represented by the tip of the arrow, and the inward direction is represented by the cross, that is tail of the arrow. Okay. Now in the second diagram, I have just shown a conductor here. Okay, a conductor, blue one is a conductor here. This is rotated at an angle of theta in the circular direction, that is with an angular velocity of omega. At a given instant, that is when the angle is theta at a time of t, I have the sinusoidal voltage induced given by this vertical distance. Okay, this vertical distance. Now here I have one complete sinusoidal waveform here. Okay, one wave. This is complete one sinusoidal wave. This wave, it is the voltage induced, okay, in the coil, as the coil rotated by 360 degrees or 2 pi radians. At any time theta, theta is equal to omega t. At any time t, theta is equal to omega t. So at that instant, whatever the voltage we have here, I call it as instantaneous voltage. These terms and all I will be repeating again in the slides to become before. Okay. So this is what we have, the instantaneous value here. This is the instantaneous value, this point, that is at omega is equal to, theta is equal to omega t. It is given at a time of t seconds. So we have certain terminology. If you take a sine wave, I have the sine wave represented like this. This is my sine wave. Now in this sine wave I get by rotating the coil through 0, from 0 through 90 to 180 degrees, and then this will be 270, then this will be 360 degrees. This is in terms of theta, which is equals to omega t. If I take the time, I can say this is t by 2 seconds, this will be capital T, and this point is t by 4, this will be 3t by 4. We will come to this what is the capital T later. Okay. At any time t, I will be getting my instantaneous voltage like this. This is what we have, the instantaneous voltage E, when the maximum value of voltage is Em. So all my definitions about the sine wave will be based on this curve. See, the sine wave will take a time of t seconds, capital T seconds, to complete one cycle. What is that one cycle? Full rotation of the coil from 0 to 360 degrees, that is one cycle. Okay. It takes a capital T of time of t seconds. Within half cycle, that is within a time of t by 2 seconds, I will be getting the first half cycle, and the remaining t by 2 I will be getting the second half cycle. So one complete set of all positive values will be one positive half cycle, and similarly all the negative values, that is the set of all negative values what you have between t by 2 to t or 180 to 360 degrees will give us, this will give us 180 to 360 will give us the negative half cycle. So a positive half cycle and a negative half cycle. So a set of all positive half cycle and a set of negative half cycle, this is called one cycle. Okay, this is one cycle. Full one cycle is a set of positive values and a set of negative values. In one cycle, the value of the induced voltage is increasing from 0 to a positive maximum, decreases to 0, okay, and it goes through 0 to a negative maximum, fine, and again increases back to 0. So this is one full cycle. So this is what I have shown you the waveform on the screen. Magnitude is on the vertical axis, horizontal axis is the time or the angular velocity. You can see one cycle I just represented T by 4, it is the time for quarter cycle, T by 2 for half cycle, okay, and T for the full cycle. This period we can also measure in radians. When I measure in radians, 0 to 2 pi it is the time for one cycle, 0 to pi it is the time for the half cycle, that is positive half cycle. And then all sinusoidal alternating quantities, or in fact any alternating quantities, will have a maximum value or a peak value, okay. It is the maximum positive value or maximum negative of the quantity. Let us say if I take a voltage, this is my maximum positive value and this is my maximum negative value, okay. Now usually for a coil, when it is following a sine curve, the maximum positive value and maximum negative values will be equal in magnitude, only the direction of the induced EMF in the negative half cycle it will differ, okay. Otherwise if we just take the magnitude only, the positive maximum and negative maximum they are equal always, okay. Then only I call the waveform as a periodic, okay. And we can also call this maximum value by a name amplitude. We can also call it as amplitude. And then we have a instantaneous value. You take any time, okay, any time between 0 to t, any time, the value of the signal at that instant, we call it as the instantaneous value. So the difference here is the instantaneous value is represented by a lowercase letter, okay, and the maximum value is represented by a capital letter, fine. So at any instant E of t, I can write it as E maximum sin omega t, okay, E maximum sin omega t I can write, where t is the instant. If I take t is equal to t1, then I write E of t1 is equals to E maximum sin of omega t1. This is my instantaneous voltage. Then I have a time period. As I told you, the time taken by a sinusoidal alternating quantity to complete one cycle, we call it as a time period. This time period, as I told you, can be measured in seconds or in radians. If I measure in seconds, I write it as a capital T. If I measure in radians, I write it as 360 degrees or 2 pi radians. And then I have a frequency. This is also very important term. In our country the frequency is 50 hertz. We always try to maintain, because all the equipment which works on this AC supply, they are designed for frequency of 50 hertz. In our country is 50, in USA the standard frequency is 60 hertz. Higher values of frequency are used in normally communication systems, okay. In power supplies and all we use a frequency of 50 hertz. The frequency, it is how many cycles the sinusoidal quantity will complete in 1 second, okay. That number will give us the frequency of the supply, frequency of the sinusoidal quantity. Now this frequency is represented by a letter F, okay. When I say F is equal to 50 hertz, when I say F is equal to 50 hertz, it means my sinusoidal alternating quantity, it is completing 50 cycles in 1 second, okay. Cycles per second is the unit for this. So after this I have an angular frequency. Angular frequency is equal to the number of radians covered in 1 second, okay. Number of radians covered in 1 second. One cycle covers 2 pi radians, okay. One cycle covers 2 pi radians and there are f cycles in 1 second. So this relation will give us the angular frequency omega is equal to 2 pi into f, or f is equal to 1 by t also I can call, because the time taken to complete one cycle is t seconds, okay. In 1 second I will be getting 1 by t cycles, that is what you have frequency, okay. So when I write angular frequency omega is equal to 2 pi f, okay, 2 pi f, I can also write f is equal to 1 by t, therefore the angular frequency becomes 2 pi by t. This is the expression for angular frequency for a sinusoidal alternating quantity. Then I have alteration. See here I have for 0 to t by 2 seconds I have all positive values, and from t by 2 to capital T seconds I have all negative values, okay. So I can call this set of positive values as one alteration, okay, and the negative set, it is another alteration. One half cycle of the cycle, when it includes either all positive or all negative values, is alteration. So the fraction of time period that elapsed since it last passed from this chosen 0 position or origin is the phase. That is the next term what I define, phase. See, for example, here I have 0 degrees, this is my reference point, okay. By the time t is equal to t1 seconds, if the coil rotates by 30 degrees, move by 30 degrees, I will be getting a voltage of E of t. The 30 degrees what I have, that I call it as the phase of the sinusoidal alternating quantity at that instant. What instant? At t is equal to t1 seconds. So I will just repeat that. I have my sinusoidal alternating quantity like this, my reference is origin, okay. Within a time of t1 seconds, the coil in the magnetic field is moved by 30 degrees, okay. That means it took a time of t1 seconds. So at t1 seconds, the 30 degrees what you have, the position of the coil in the magnetic field, it gives us the phase, okay. So the phase, it is at time t from a chosen origin will be t1 divided by capital T, that also will give you, that is a fraction of the period, okay, fraction of the period defined for the wave, it will give you the phase. Now the phase expressed in radians are, see, when I want to express the position of the coil 30 degrees, I am expressing it in degrees, therefore I call it as a phase angle. If I specify the position with respect to time, I call it as a phase. See the difference between the phase and the phase angle. To express the phase, I am considering the time, okay. To express the phase angle, I am taking the angular position at that instant, at the time t. See here we have one terminology in electrical engineering. All AC voltages, AC currents and all, we call them as phasors, okay. I just consider one rotating vector of a fixed length, let us say V or E. Let this vector rotate in counterclockwise direction about the origin in the coordinate system at a constant angular velocity. I will just show you that. I am taking a coordinate axis here, x axis and y axis. I will be considering a vector which is originally along the x axis with a length of v, it can be Vm or whatever you want, you can take that, okay. Now this vector I want to rotate in the counterclockwise direction at an angular velocity of omega, okay. Now if I rotate this vector with respect to time about the origin, what happens? At t is equal to t seconds or t1 seconds, this vector will move in the coordinate system by an angle of theta is equal to omega t1. Velocity into time will give you the displacement. since I am measuring the velocity in angular terms, angular velocity, that multiplied by time will give you the displacement in theta degrees, or it can be radians also. Okay, it usually, because I am expressing omega in radians per second, the theta also will be in radians. Okay, now this position will be always with respect to the x axis, what I called as horizontal or reference axis. Okay, now let the vector be along the horizontal axis at t is equal to 0, that is my initial position. The vertical projection of the vector is, okay, the vertical position of the vector is its length time the sine of the angle theta. Okay, that means when you move the vector in the counterclockwise direction at t is equal to t1, the angle by which the vector moves is theta is equal to omega t1, then I can say this vector will have a projection on the vertical axis, and if I measure the projection here, this is given by v sine of omega t1. Okay, now this, as the vector rotates, this vertical projection what you have of the vector, it keep on changes. Okay, now you see here, when I further move the vector by some more angle, okay, maintaining the same length for the vector, because the distance moved is increased to theta 2, theta 2 now is omega into t2. Okay, so it takes more time to come to new position, so I will be having the projection is increasing. Okay, like that, when you move this vector by 90 degrees, what I get the position along the y axis is the maximum. If you continue to rotate that, further rotation will take the vector into the second quadrant, right, still the projection of the vector on the positive vertical axis only will be there, that is positive. So after 90 degrees, if you further rotate, you can see the projection of the vector on the vertical axis is decreasing. Okay, like that, when you rotate the vector by 180 degrees, my vector now will be positioned along the negative real axis or the negative horizontal axis. So the image or the projection of this vector on the vertical axis is at origin, so that means it is 0. Okay, like further rotation, take the vector to the third quadrant, where the projection of the vector on the vertical axis becomes negative. Okay, and third quadrant, fourth quadrant, both will give us the projection to be negative. If you try to draw these projections on other scale like this, time, okay, and vertical axis, it gives you the projection of the vector at different times. When t is equal to 0, my vector is along the positive horizontal axis, so the projection of the vector about the vertical axis is 0. Okay, at t1, my t is equal to t1, it is increased. At t is equal to t2, it is further increased, and at some point where I moved the vector by 90 degrees, I am getting a maximum value of the projection. Further increase in the angle, I get a reduction here. Now here what happens, I move the vector by 180 degrees or pi radians. Okay, so it is now, when I move it by 180, my vector will be on the negative real axis, therefore the projection on the vertical axis of this vector will be 0. Okay, further rotation, I am getting a negative half cycle. Okay, like this. Since the vector length is fixed throughout this operation, the maximum value of the positive and maximum value of the negative half cycle, they are equal. Fine. So by this, what you can know, you can say that a rotating vector in the coordinate axis rotated at a constant velocity, by considering the projection of the vector along the vertical axis, I can have a sinusoidal wave. Okay, that is what it says. The sinusoidal waveform generated can be represented by E of t is equal to Em sin omega t, with or Vm sin omega t, whatever you want you can take, okay. If this is the maximum value Em, and if I write the projection as V of t here, I can write V of t voltage is Em sin omega t, I can write, okay. So this will give us a sinusoidal. See, this diagram will tell you about the same thing what I just told you now. I just here I have represented different position for the conductor, okay. I am just taken only one conductor here. I have here, you can see A, what do you have, 0 degrees, B 45 degrees. See, I just put a different color notation for the conductors, and correspondingly on the other side I have given the instantaneous values of the voltages. At A, I will be getting a 0 voltage. When the coil is moved by 45 degrees, my flux linkages or change in the flux linkages are such that I will be getting a smaller amount of voltage here. The vertical arrow here, what it represents the voltage in that, okay. And then when it is moved by 90 degrees, I get a maximum one, that is because from this position to this position I have maximum amount of change in the flux linkages, therefore I get larger amount of voltage induced, okay. So this is what you see here, that point C I will be getting maximum voltage. Further rotation, that is at 135 degrees, you can see the point D, there is a reduction in the voltage. When the conductor at E, the position E, I have the coil rotated by 180 degrees, therefore again the induced EMF becomes 0 here. See, further rotation, when I go to 225, my same amount of voltage is there here, what I get for 45 degrees, you get the same here, but the direction is opposite, okay. At 270 I get a maximum voltage, and at 315 degrees I get again a reduce in the voltage. See now the voltage what you have in the conductor B at 45 degrees and the conductor here at the position D at 135 degrees, both are same, okay, both are same, but this is occurring after reaching the maximum and this is occurring before reaching the maximum, that is the difference, okay. See here, this is another waveform which represents a generated sinusoidal wave. I have taken a periodic time of t, okay, for one cycle I have drawn. I have the instantaneous values. So all this circle, small circle represents the instantaneous values at different positions. At a theta I have E, this is the instantaneous value. At pi by 2 I have maximum amplitude plus A, okay. At 2 pi by 3 I have reduced voltage from the maximum value, from maximum to it reduced here, right. Further, if you move along the time axis, when I move by 180 degrees, that is within half a period, I have again the voltage 0. You further increase that, the time or the angle, you will get a voltage in the negative direction, it becomes minus A maximum, and then further increases from minus A maximum to 0, okay. So this is one how we generate the waveform by rotating a coil in the magnetic field, and at different positions the induced voltage in the coil will have a different value. Collecting all these values and plotting that voltages with respect to the time or the angular different positions of the coil, I get a sinusoidal wave, okay. The practical generators also will have work on the same principle, but instead of just having one coil, I have a group of coils connected, okay. All the coils connected in series, so therefore I will have the total voltage increased to a larger value, okay. Now if I take a, if you see this phase, what is this phase? I consider a rotating vector, okay. If the rotating vector had a counterclockwise displacement of 5 degrees from its initial position, the instantaneous voltage V of t is given by Em sin phi. The angle phi is called the phase of the voltage at that instant. I think this is what I have already explained when I am just considering a sinusoidal wave, but here you can understand the phase about taking this example of the conductor rotated in the magnetic field, okay, or in the coordinate system. Now the phase of alternating quantities is always related to the time origin. Okay, I measure with respect to the initial position of the vector, that is time origin. Phase difference, if I want to explain the phase difference, there should be two sinusoidal alternating quantities having same angular velocity, okay, and of course same frequency also, right. Otherwise I do not get the same angular velocities for that if the frequencies are not correct, or the other way, if the angular velocities are not equal, so it is not possible for the two different sinusoidal alternating quantities to have the same amount of frequency. I always express the phase difference between the phases of two sinusoidal alternating quantities. So for example, I have one alternating voltage with an angular velocity of omega is equal to 2 pi radians, and at a specific time of t1 seconds, I have the phase of the voltage as 60 degrees. I can have another sinusoidal voltage having the same frequency, at the same time it can have a phase of 40 degrees. So the 60 minus 40, that will give you 20 degrees, will be the phase difference between the two sinusoidal alternating quantities. And then I have an average value. Usually all these waveforms, they will have, you can see here, I have a positive half cycle and I have a negative half cycle. The set of all positive values, I call it as a positive alteration, negative values is called as a negative alteration. Okay. Now suppose say you got around say 6 subjects, first semester 6 subjects are there, okay. You cleared each subject by say an average of 60%, okay. Total average is 60%, but the marks what you got in different subjects is different, okay. So you can say on average I got a percentage of this value, okay, my percentage is this much. How you calculate the percentage of marks? Same way here we can calculate the average value, okay. Now when you take see, by definition it is the algebraic sum of all the values divided by the total number of values, which means that I have the sinusoidal alternating quantity here, okay. I take, let us say 0 to 180 degree as a positive alteration. I divide this 0 to 180 degrees into 10 equal parts. What do you mean by that? At every 18 degrees I will divide like this. At 18 degrees this is my value E1 of t. At next 18 degrees my value is E2 of t. Like this I will calculate the instantaneous value of this voltage for every 18 degrees. So I have 18 values. Take the average of that 18 values, you will get the average value of the sinusoidal quantity, okay. Now here you have to see one. Normally what I told you, considering 18 values of the voltage, taking the average, that is analytical method, okay. I mean say that is one of the methods to calculate the average value. Analytical method is also there. To find out the average value, what I can do is I can consider the complete area under the curve, okay, the full area under the positive alteration, then divide that area with the base length, okay, that base length, that will give us average height of all these values. That average height is nothing but the average value, okay. Average height, what I am getting, it will be the average value of the sinusoidal alternating quantity. Now if I calculate this average value over a period, that is 0 to t by 2 and t second, t by 2 to t seconds, you can see I have the positive alteration where all the instantaneous values are positive, and I have a negative alteration where all my values are negative, okay, all my values are negative. So when I take the average value here for the positive half cycle and the average value for the negative half cycle, the total, this is a positive value, this will be a negative value. So when you try to calculate the total average value, it becomes to 0. Therefore, the average value I cannot calculate over the full cycle. I can calculate only over the half cycle. So, I can use an analytical method to calculate the area of the curve. By concept of that, what I do is I just consider one small strip, elemental strip. I calculate the area of the elemental strip, then I will integrate this. So, I will be getting the area under the total positive half cycle. So, that area I will be dividing with the base length of t by 2 seconds, I will be getting the average value of the positive half cycle. The same average value the negative half cycle also will have. So, normally for all sinusoidal quantities, the average value will be expressed either for a positive half cycle or for a negative half cycle. We never express the average value for a full cycle. So far now we just defined how to generate this sinusoidal alternating quantities and the terminology used for the sinusoidal alternating quantities, and then I just defined how to calculate the average value of a sinusoidal quantity.